Buckle up because today we're diving deep into the world of boys' love in China. It's a wild ride, let me tell you. We're talking passionate fans, stories that broke barriers, and then bam, government regulations come in and change everything. So we're going to unpack how VL, as it's often called, went from this niche thing to a full-blown phenomenon. It even grabbed international attention before, well, facing a major crackdown.
Yeah, it's a story with a lot of layers, especially when you think about how BL offered this whole new perspective on relationships. It challenged the usual narratives and really resonated with audiences globally.
For sure. I mean, The Untamed and Word of Honor, those shows weren't just popular, they were like cultural moments. But here's the thing, it wasn't just about seeing two guys together on screen. BL had something more. These stories, they offered a glimpse into relationships built on empathy and understanding. Stuff that's sometimes missing in the mainstream. It was about connection and finding acceptance, especially in a society that wasn't always so accepting.
That's a really important point. BL created this space to explore different kinds of relationships, the emotional connections between male characters. And it did it in a way that you didn't often see in traditional media. That depth, that's what drew in such a huge and dedicated fan base, not just in China, but all over the world.
It's like BL tapped into this universal need for stories that show the real complexities of human connection, and it did it regardless of gender. Okay, so let's rewind a bit. Take us back. What was the BL scene like in China when it first started booming?
All right, picture this. Early 2010s, fan conventions are packed, online communities are buzzing with fan-made content. And the actors from these BL series, they're becoming stars practically overnight. It was a vibrant time, full of energy, both for the fans and the creators.
Wow, I bet the energy was electric. That sense of community, the shared passion, must have been amazing. Actually, we have this quote from a fan from back then, and it captures the feeling perfectly. They said, "It was like this space where we could be ourselves, where we could celebrate these stories without judgment. It was liberating."
Totally. That feeling of freedom and acceptance, that was a huge part of what made BL so appealing. You see, these stories offered a different kind of romance, one that was built on understanding and respect. And that resonated deeply with fans, especially those who didn't see themselves represented in more traditional media.
So you have this incredibly passionate fan base, this creative scene that's exploding, and BL is starting to make its mark on the mainstream. Things are looking pretty good, right?
Yeah.
So what happened? When did things start to change?
Well, the turning point seems to be around 2016. That's when the Chinese government started tightening its control over media content. Anything that didn't fit with traditional family values or what they called morality preservation came under scrutiny.
And BL, even with its popularity and positive messages, it got caught up in that.
Unfortunately, yeah. While BL stories often focused on love and relationships, they were seen as clashing with the government's agenda.
It must have been a tough blow to the BL community to go from that period of growth and acceptance to suddenly facing this kind of scrutiny. So, how did this crackdown play out? What kind of restrictions did creators start to face?
It started subtly at first. Online platforms dedicated to BL content started getting shut down. Creators ran into new limitations and restrictions, and there was this constant threat of censorship hanging over everything. It was a gradual tightening of control, but the impact was definitely felt. And it wasn't just about the content itself. They started going after the actors, too. Their social media accounts were being monitored. Some even got suspended. And a lot of them felt this pressure to avoid anything, even off-screen, that could even hint at BL relationships.
Whoa, so it went beyond just censoring the stories. They were trying to control the actors' lives. That's pretty intense. I can't even imagine how frustrating that must have been for everyone involved, the actors, the fans.
It was a rough time, for sure. We actually have a quote from a fan from back then. They said, "It felt like they were trying to erase us, not just the stories, but our whole community." And it's true. This kind of censorship, it goes deeper than just content. It targets a whole way of life, a way of expressing yourself.
It's a reminder that censorship isn't always about what we can see or read, right? It's about controlling how we think, who we're allowed to be. But the BL community, they didn't just take this lying down, did they?
No way. What's fascinating is how BL fans adapted. They found new ways to engage with the genre they loved. A lot of them turned to international BL content, especially from Thailand and Japan. Those countries have their own thriving BL industries.
So they were pushed towards a more global BL scene. It sounds like the crackdown backfired a bit. Instead of shutting down the community, they accidentally helped it expand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like this classic example of how trying to control culture can totally backfire. Fans, especially BL fans, They're incredibly resourceful and passionate. They weren't going to let censorship stop them from connecting with these stories, these characters. And with the internet, streaming platforms, it became easier than ever to access BL from all over the world.
I'm curious, did this move towards international BL change the types of stories being told? Did it impact the genre in any big way?
Oh, definitely. It opened up all these new possibilities. The international BL scene offered a wider range of perspectives, different themes, and this exchange of ideas, it started to influence both the content and the fandom itself.
So it wasn't just about finding a safe haven for the stories that already existed. It was about pushing the boundaries of what BL could be. That's pretty amazing. But before we get too deep into the global BL scene, let's go back to China for a second. Things were about to get even more intense, right?
You're right. In 2021, the Chinese government launched this campaign against what they called sissy idols.
Okay, sissy idols. I've heard that term, but I'm not totally sure I understand what it means. Can you break it down for us?
Basically, it was a way to criticize young male celebrities who didn't fit into these traditional ideas of masculinity. They were seen as too feminine in their looks or their behavior.
Ah, okay, I get it. So how did this campaign, this attack on sissy idols, how did it connect back to BL?
Well, if you look at the bigger picture, it becomes pretty clear that this policy, even though it was aimed at a broader cultural trend, it had a direct and really negative impact on the BL industry. Many BL actors, because of the roles they played, the characters they were portraying, they were often young, and they didn't necessarily fit those rigid masculinity norms.
Wait, so they weren't explicitly targeting BL, but the impact was obvious, right? It's like they were trying to erase a whole community, and this was after that earlier crackdown on BL content. It seems like the government was really determined to squeeze the genre out of existence.
It definitely felt that way. This campaign, it marked a significant escalation in the crackdown on BL. It was like this coded attack, a way to further marginalize and silence the genre without actually naming it.
It really shows how censorship can work in these subtle, almost sneaky ways. It's not always about outright bans, it's about creating this atmosphere of fear and self-censorship. So how did the fans react to this? I imagine there was a lot of anger, a lot of frustration.
Oh, absolutely. Despite all the censorship, fans took to social media to express their outrage, their disappointment. But their voices were often silenced very quickly. Posts were deleted, accounts got suspended. It became harder and harder for fans to speak out openly.
Wow, that's really disheartening. So what did they do? Did they just give up on BL altogether? So they were being censored left and right? It sounds like a really tough spot to be in. Did they find any way to keep BL alive within China, despite all of that?
Well, it's amazing how resilient fans can be. Even with all that pressure, they found ways to connect and share their love for BL. They started using these subtle forms of communication, coded language, symbolism, ways to talk about their favorite stories and characters without, attracting attention from the censors.
Wow, that's incredible. It's like they created their own underground language just to keep the community going. It shows you the power of fandom, how determined these fans were to keep BL in their lives.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just the fans. Some really brave creators kept making content within China. They found these creative ways to navigate the censorship, to work around it.
So they were still making BL content even with all those restrictions in place. How did they pull that off?
Oh, it's a delicate balancing act for sure. Some creators, they toned down the romantic aspects, focus more on themes of friendship and camaraderie. Others use metaphors and symbolism to express romantic feelings indirectly. It was this constant dance between pushing the boundaries and staying within the lines, and always with that risk of getting their work banned.
That must have been so stressful for those creators. It took a lot of courage, a lot of ingenuity to keep making BL in that environment. It really speaks to their dedication to the genre, to their desire to share these stories.
It does. And it highlights this idea that creativity can't be easily suppressed. Even when you're facing censorship, people will find a way to express themselves, to tell the stories that matter to them.
So we have the situation where BL is facing all the scrutiny in China, but the fans, the creators, they're keeping it alive, whether it's through these coded messages or pushing the boundaries of what's allowed. It's a testament to their passion, their resilience. But what about the international BL scene? We talked earlier about how fans started looking to content from other countries. Could that be the key to BL's survival, at least in its more authentic form?
The international BL scene has become this safe haven, for fans and creators who want to explore BL themes more openly, more authentically. It's thriving, it's diverse, with countries like Thailand, Japan, South Korea, even in the West. They're producing some really amazing content.
So, in a way, the crackdown in China ended up fueling the growth of BL globally. It's funny how things can have these unintended consequences. What does this global shift mean for the future of BL? Could it actually change the genre itself?
I think it's already having an effect. As BL becomes more global, we're seeing a wider range of stories. Stories that reflect different cultural perspectives, different experiences. This cross-cultural exchange is leading to new and exciting narratives. It's pushing the boundaries of what BL can be.
So it's not just about finding a safe place to tell the same stories, it's about expanding what BL is, letting it evolve, grow in new ways.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the most exciting aspects of this shift. BL isn't limited to a single culture anymore. It's becoming this truly global phenomena, reflecting the diverse experiences and perspectives of its audience.
That's a really optimistic way to look at it. So, what's the takeaway for someone who's just getting into BL? What should they keep in mind as they explore this genre?
I'd say embrace the diversity. Check out BL content from different countries, different cultures. You'll be amazed by the variety of stories and perspectives out there.
Hmm.
And don't be afraid to connect with the fandom. It's a passionate, welcoming community. They're always happy to share their love for BL.
Great advice. This deep dive has been quite a journey. We've seen the rise of BL in China, the crackdown, the incredible resilience of fans and creators. But through it all, the love for BL has endured. It's found new ways to connect with people all over the world.
Yeah, it's a story of creativity, passion, the power of connection. And the story's still being written. Who knows what the future holds for BL? But one thing's for sure, it's a genre that's going to keep captivating and inspiring people for years to come.
I think that's a perfect note to end on. Thanks for taking us on this deep dive into the world of BL.
Hmm.
It's been an eye-opener, for sure.